What is up, nerds? It's Pat from the Nerd You're Looking For podcast, and today I'm going to show you 5 tips on how to survive the prologue on Nazi zombies. But before we get started, if you want to learn more about how to crush these games and really have a blast doing it, smash that subscribe button, ding that bell, because we're starting right now. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to be sharing 5 tips on how to survive in the prologue of Nazi zombies. Now, some of these tips can actually be applied across the board in Nazi zombies, but this video is going to kind of be geared more towards the prologue, because there's a particular achievement or trophy, depending on what you play on, that can only be unlocked once you survive 20 waves on the prologue, and that's quite the task. If you're new to Nazi zombies, that's going to be quite the achievement to unlock. So without further ado, in no particular order, here are the 5 tips to survive the prologue on Nazi zombies. So tip number 1 is something that can be applied across the board on Nazi zombies, but it is paramount to pay attention to this when you're in the prologue. Never, ever stop moving. When I played the prologue, I had basically had a timer in my head, and I never stood still for more than 10 seconds. I knew if I stood for 10 seconds or more, I knew I had at least 5 or 6 zombies behind me, because there's not a ton of room in the farmhouse to move around. So you have to constantly be moving. Never stop moving. You stop moving, you die. Here's a bonus tip for you. Shoot while you move. For example, if there's a horde to your left and a horde to your right, and you want to clear out the one to your right first, while you're clearing them out, move towards them. That creates distance between you and the one that you haven't cleared out yet. That way, there's more distance in between you and the zombies that you have left to kill. If you stood still, cleared out the horde to your right, then the other one would be basically right on top of you by the time you had time to turn around. So shoot while you move. Tip number 2 is exclusive to just the prologue. During the prologue, you're going to be in what they call the farmhouse, and there is essentially just a barn door that you're supposed to open. Do not open this door. There's 2 reasons why you don't want to open the door. The most obvious one is basically once you open the door and you take a step or 2 out, the prologue is over and you move on to actual Nazi zombies. Well, we're trying to get this achievement or trophy. If you haven't already gotten it, then there's no reason for you to open the door. But the second and most important reason why you don't open that door, because it gives the zombies another way to get into the farmhouse. I know it seems silly because the windows don't necessarily give you that much protection from them, but it does take them a second or 2 to get through the windows, and that does seem to thin it out a little bit, especially towards the end when you're getting closer to 20. Any second or 2 that thins them out can be a lifesaver. So do not open this door, because it makes it easier for them to get into the farmhouse. Tip number 3 is another one that can be applied throughout Nazi zombies. I'm sure many of you out there that have been playing for a while have jumped into a game with just 3 randos, and you're not sure if they're actually going to play like a team, and you don't know if you get downed, if they're going to go out of their way to revive you. So it's always good to have armor, so it's harder for you to get down in the first place, and self-revive. If you do get down, obviously, as the title would suggest, it's going to revive you. However, those 2 things, armor and self-revive, are literally paramount in the prologue, because you are by yourself. You don't have the opportunity to have teammates to revive you. So you need the armor to make sure you don't get downed, and then you absolutely need the self-revive because you're by yourself. If you get downed and you don't have the self-revive, you are done. The game is over. Bonus tip number 2, I would say out of the 2, if I had to choose between armor or self-revive in the prologue, I'm taking self-revive every day of the week. Don't get me wrong, armor is nice, but self-revive, like I said, is a lifesaver. So my bonus tip for you guys is, if you do get downed, it does take a second to actually revive you. What I always do is try to make my way closest to that self-revive machine Of course, try to clear them out with the pistol as much as you can, but you want to be moving towards the self-revive machine. As soon as you get up, you want to be as close as you possibly can to that machine so you get it almost immediately. So tip number 4 is another one that can be applied across the board for Nazi zombies, but especially in the prologue, you need to absolutely be aiming for the head. Always go for the headshot. Shooting the zombies in the chest is fine when you're in the single digit waves, but when you're in the double digit, it's almost impossible. Especially if you do not abide by the final tip that I'm going to get to here in a second. You're going to be doing this all 20 rounds or waves with the MP40, which is a fine gun. I know a lot of hardcore Nazi zombie players swear by that gun, but when you're getting to level 18, 19, 20, you gotta be going for the head. It's paramount. So if you're new to Nazi zombies and you're having a hard time getting the headshot, just make sure that you practice in the early waves to kind of get the rhythm down, because there's a bit of a rhythm to get the headshot. Especially there's different kinds of zombies. Some have a limp to them that kind of bob their head. Some are just up straight, so that's a little bit easier to get the headshot. So you just kind of have to play around. Practice makes perfect. So I saved the best for last. The last tip for helping you survive in Nazi Zombies Prologue is there is a trick, kind of an Easter egg if you will, to open the secret room in the farmhouse that actually has the mystery box, which will allow you to pay to basically gamble to get a better weapon. What you have to do, there are 10 lanterns that are located within the farmhouse, and they all have this little like purple hue inside of them. What you need to do is shoot those lanterns. When you shoot them correctly, because they are very touchy, where you actually have to hit them on the lantern, you'll hear these crows. Once you hear the crows, you know that you've completed that particular lantern, and then you can move on to the next one. Really, they're pretty easy to find. There's 1 or 2 in pretty much every little area that you have in the farmhouse. The only 2 that I had a hard time finding were downstairs outside. There's a window to the left. If you're looking at the barn door, there's a window to the left all the way right before you go up the stairs. And there, I believe there's a truck out there, and it's sitting on top of the truck. And then if you're looking at the barn door again, the window all the way to the far right, there's also a lantern out there. Once you shoot all of the lanterns and you hear the crows, you will actually hear the door swing open upstairs, and then you can go to the box and gamble for a better weapon. Like I said, the MP40 is a good weapon, but when you can get all these other weapons for, believe it's 1,000 jolts, you can't pass that up. And I would suggest doing it as early as possible when it's easier to avoid the small waves of zombies, and the zombies aren't that hard to defeat. So usually I try to do it by wave 3 or 4, get all the lanterns, therefore you have the box opened up when the shit hits the fan. So if you're a hardcore Nazi Zombies player and there's a tip or a trick that I didn't cover in this video that you think people should know about, definitely leave it in the comment section below. And if you're new to the channel and you want to learn how to really crush these games and have a great time doing it, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell. As always, my name is Patrick Kuhn, and I am the nerd you're looking for. Take it easy, guys.